Alright guys, so now I am going to go ahead and switch over to this quadrilateral family tree. So I know that this isn't in your notes, but I do want to fill it out because I think it is a really good way to kind of see the connections. So I'm going to post this on the Google Classroom along with everything else for today. So if you would like to print it out, I would encourage that. If you aren't able to print it out, you could maybe try to download it to like OneNote and take notes since you have touchscreen laptops. If not, just make sure to follow along. Make sure you're able to refer back to this in the future so you can really see kind of some of these connections that we're making. Okay, so as we're filling out this, we're going to start with the most broad term that we can. So the most broad is going to be if we just have a quadrilateral. So if you guys remember, a quadrilateral is just any four-sided figure. And so I could just draw anything as long as it only has four sides. That would be considered a quadrilateral. So going down from there, you guys see we have a couple different options, a couple different ways that we can go. And so we will go ahead and start with kind of where we started in the notes. And we're going to look at if we go straight down. So the very first thing we talked about in the notes was a parallelogram. And so that's where we're going to go straight down here is if we have parallelogram. So if you guys remember, or if you're looking at your notes, a parallelogram or a quadrilateral is a parallelogram if and only if both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So looking at an image of a parallelogram, we're going to see that we have opposite sides parallel, but that's all that we have to have in order to have a parallelogram. That is our definition at the bare minimum. So if you guys remember when we were talking about some of our other shapes, we talked about things that could be parallelograms and something else. And so those and something else's, we talked about a rhombus, we talked about a rectangle, and we talked about a square. So what we can look at is if I have, let's have this one be a rhombus. So if I have a rhombus, remember that something is a rhombus if and only if it's a parallelogram with four congruent sides. So, just like with a parallelogram, we have to have opposite sides being parallel. For a rhombus, I'm going to draw a similar shape, but I want to make sure that these opposite sides are congruent first and that they're parallel.